Maddie here. I want to just focus on career-related and helping advise other people. Let's dive into kind of a quick career journey. I've shared before that rejection is really intense for transgender people, and that's something that I've experienced and continue to experience. But the thing that I would share is that despite this rejection, I think it takes a lot of resilience to really show up and continue to ask and to continue to put yourself in a position where you are building those skills regardless of if people are allowing them to come into your life. So, for the longest time I wanted to get into corporate finance, maybe at a consulting firm. I had interviewed at a company called PwC. It's one of the big 4 consulting firms back when I was in Singapore, and that just didn't go through. And that could have been skill related. I definitely wasn't necessarily showing up as my authentic self. There are many reasons. I only had 1 year of experience, so things kind of evolve over time. But I would say that my first piece of advice around career development would just be to stay consistent with what you want to do. And as a transgender or queer person, don't let preconceived definitions of what people in that demographic do define you. So, for example, there's a lot of transgender people who are in tech, and that makes sense. It's more about skills, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't be a CEO, or that doesn't mean that you can't be a marketing lead for a company, or or a finance lead or something along those lines. So don't let the visibility, which has been amazing, and is super grateful for all the visibility around the actors, drive your actions on a daily basis towards what you want to do. With that being said, the path is hard to build those incremental experiences and to deal with the rejections. But my piece of advice to you is continue to focus on what you like. One day an opportunity will show up for you that will be the right fit, and it will really allow you to shine. And I'm taking a big step to say that I'm going to be shining, but I'm generally pretty confident in my technical and finance capabilities at this point, and I'm excited to deliver some value to clients here shortly. I joined a really nice finance consulting firm out of New York City, so I'll be moving from LA to New York, and I'm just really excited to be stepping into a role. The team, and I think this is really maybe another important topic, is make sure you're at an environment that is positive, that you can thrive in, where you're not thinking about your identity, because honestly, your identity should not matter at an organization, right? Your identity is your identity. Everybody has an identity, and whether or not you're the super masculine leader, that's an identity that you're holding. That shouldn't necessarily drive, in a meritocracy, drive your results. So make sure you find a organization that is very promoting, and try to filter that out. Filter out companies that are not like that. Ask the tough questions in the interview process. What programs do you have? When I went through this interview process, that was really important for me, was to understand the cultural team dynamic of, how accepting are they? And then the second is, what have they shown? Facts of tangible things, not things that they talk about, because actions and physical things carry significantly more weight than what you talk about. So, what actions are they currently, have they historically, and are they planning to do around this topic? So, those would be some filters that I would use as I thought through kind of this interview process. And the company I came from was a conservative company, and I know I had some allies. I had many allies within the company. I know there are people who were, I don't know what the right word is, but they maybe it didn't jive with their beliefs and they couldn't build a relationship, right? And that's something I struggle with, even some of my personal family relationships too. So I see it exists, and at some companies it's more than others. So do your exploration, ask your questions, make sure that this company that you're joining is proactive and they care about equality and the culture is promotive. And and then I guess that's the second piece. So I started my first day on Tuesday. The second piece is, okay, well, it's one thing to see it and to see all the structures in place. It's another thing to experience it and, how do people treat you? How are you received? What is your gut feeling kind of going into these meetings and connections and different engagements? How is that actually playing out? And you owe it to yourself to decide whether or not you want to be a part of this company. You're bringing something that's valuable, and that goes back to the very first part of this conversation, which is really focus on your craft. Like, what are you passionate about? That's what companies, and I'm largely talking about companies, but you can be your own boss, right? And the same thing. How do you create that value? So how do you create that value, and make sure when you're in an environment that value is being recognized? And the verdict is still out on that translation. Then regardless of identity, that is something that every employee deals with, is that value alignment. So that's a different topic, but I think that's all I wanted to share really on the work career. More to come with updates and how the team's going. And it's really weird joining during COVID because it's like you meet people in like a little virtual setting, and that's not the same. More to come on the career. Again, I want to be available to the transgender community or the LGBTQ community, and if you have finance or business background or you want to go into that space, shoot me a message, and I definitely want to offer any perspective or point you in a direction that can help you. So that's all I have today. A little bit more of a business download, but I think the importance of the business is that it paves the way for the things that you want to do in life, right? Do you want to travel? I just came back from Africa. Do you want to focus on specific beauty things? These are things that fundamentally allow you to participate in some of the more joyous things in life. So that's my view. You really don't need money to do any of that. It's all of a mindset as well. So it's a catch-22. But that is an update on my career, and more to come.